Welcome to the OK Not OK podcast. I am Dr. O'Kay, and today is our OK question of the week. I don't have any special New Year's Day edition for you like we did for Thanksgiving or Christmas, but hey, New Year's resolution, let's get some of you to ask the OK question of the week on X. I know we don't have a huge number of people watching us so far, but that just means you have a better shot of having your question get answered, so get on to that. And frankly, the SportsZu is just boring me at this point, so I really would like to have less questions out of him. But unfortunately today, here he is, so let's get to it. Doc, the WWE finally came back to Tampa after about 11 long months, and you got to go. So what are your thoughts about seeing the show live, and how did you score such good tickets? SportsZu, let me start with that second part first. It's not because of how much you're paying me. Seriously, we need to have a talk about that. But why would I tell all of you stupid idiots out there that answer? I guess you'll just never know. So anyways, going back to SmackDown, it was great to be in the crowd with the WWE Universe for a change. And although most of you are indeed idiots for doing insane things like chanting OTC when your real tribal chief Solo Sikoa is right in front of you, I just am never going to get that. Simply mind-boggling. But I do want to shout out to Jason, who is sitting right next to me at the show. He was great to meet and talk to all throughout. Really had a great time hanging out with him, as especially I am mostly cooped up away in this here studio, so I can talk to you idiots out there working on all of these videos for you, so you better be appreciative of it. But it was nice to be out into the world for a change. So let's get to the show itself. I have to say I was impressed at the presentation of the show. It's certainly better now than it was in years past, because when you went to Raw or SmackDown all those years ago, you had all of those commercial breaks where nothing but in-house commercials were being played on the Titantron, and that was simply really annoying. If I wanted commercials, I'd stay at home and watch the show on TV. Now, admittedly, when you're at home, that's not necessarily a great thing because you're not getting all of the action, but when you're there, you get to see the full matches and the full entrances for those times when on TV you would just see a superstar standing there in the middle of the ring when they return from a break. And you also don't have to squint to see the action in that tiny little box when they go to a commercial during a match. I don't understand why anyone would want to go to a commercial during a match, since that's what we're there to see, or at least that's what I'm there to see, but it's definitely an improvement when you get to see the whole match in its glory in person. Now, the only thing that was jarring that happened on Friday Night SmackDown this past week was just how quickly the New Bloodline got out of there as soon as Kevin Owens' music hit. I was proudly acknowledging my tribal chief in the middle of the ring after they took out Braun Strowman and Sami Zayn, but I only got to do that for about 3 seconds as they hightailed it out of there, and I'm just not sure why. If Kevin Owens caused a ruckus, that would have been a 3-on-1 attack where they could have easily taken down Kevin Owens if they wanted to do so. And it's not like they're big fans of KO, as they battled him several times throughout the year. Granted, Cody Rhodes and the WWE Championship were the main goals back then, so I guess KO was just collateral damage this time around. So I guess they're probably pretty cool with KO at this particular moment for injuring Rhodes with that package pile driver. I mean, KO is right, so again, Solo, yet again, you are a smart dude. Obviously, I led off the Doktor O'Kay show on Saturday with Zayn's backflip onto Hayes, and that, of course, was double okay, as you just never know what you're going to see at a WWE show. And being that close was incredible, and that also happened to be the best shot of me on the show. But of course I was filming for you idiots, so my phone is in the way of this beautiful face. And of course we also had the women in the opening match fly right in front of us, and I wasn't really ready for it at the moment, so I didn't get great video then. And then at the end of the show, Jacob Fatu landed right at the barricade in front of us, and when I told him to do it for his tribal chief, of course he said, "I love you, Solo." And lastly, as you may remember from my Bray Wyatt tribute week, Bray was one of my favorite wrestlers in the post-Attitude Era. And if you saw maybe some other wrestling news outlets out there, that they like to talk about other news that we obviously can't rely upon, because as I always say, there's only two places we can go for WWE information, but this time they happen to be right, because blind squirrels are right every once in a while. And indeed, Bray Wyatt's wife and kids and Luke Harper's family were also both in attendance, and Harper's wife and kids were indeed sitting directly next to Jason and me, so it was great to see so many superstars come up to them right before or after their matches and segments and give them hugs and just a lot of love. Absolutely great. So for one night, it felt like we were all in the Wyatt family. And at the end of the night, after the cameras stopped rolling, Braun Strowman, Sami Zayn, and even Jey Uso came out and talked about them, and the crowd turned into fireflies, turning those lights on their phones, and they brought both families' kids into the ring, and they led us in some yeets during Jay's song. So really cool moment that of course gets a double okay for sure. And some of these news sites even managed to capture me in their photos with the back of my head and maybe even the AY rarely seen on these here parts. As for the matches themselves, yeah, it was a lot of fun. There weren't any championship matches or anything like that, but a lot of good stuff did go on there, and we certainly like to see that KO got his way in the end and is going to have that WWE Championship match at the Royal Rumble. And maybe best of all, Roman Reigns, per usual, sat this one out, as he's done now for an entire month since War Games, even though he's the one that's not injured when 3 other people in that match are indeed injured, and yet even Jimmy Uso managed to show up for 2 straight weeks. So yet again, really pathetic, Roman, really pathetic, but hey, that's all the better for me. I don't want to see you ever again. All this is to say that going to a WWE show is always a great time, and even if it might get a double not okay out of me as a final grade, when you're there, as long as Roman Reigns doesn't ruin everything like he would do anytime he shows up, you'll be sure to walk out with a double okay. So if you missed my grades and recap from both SmackDown and Raw, be sure to go right on over here to check that out, because if you don't, that would be not okay.